I'm going to say it straight away. Studying for 14 hours a day is not needed for 99% of you. It just isn't. If you find yourself having to study 14 hours a day, then you need to either learn how to study smarter so you can reduce the time you're studying, or you need to manage your time better because you're having to cram in your studying before the exam. However, if you need to study for 14 hours a day, which I don't recommend, but if you do need to study these kind of crazy hours, then it's absolutely essential that you do it in a healthy and sustainable way. So in this video, I'm going to go through 5 steps on how you can study 14 hours a day, but in a healthy way, because at the end of the day, your health should always come first. And just before I start, I've just launched my first Skillshare course called Productivity for Students Study Smarter, Not Harder. It goes into detail on how you can really level up your studying and study less by increasing your productivity. And I go through some really powerful learning strategies to help save you time when it comes to exam revision. And best of all, if you use the link in the description, you can access the course for free with the 1-month free trial. You don't have to pay a penny, so check it out, but you do need to use the link in the description below to access it for free. Step 1. Take breaks. This video is all about studying 14 hours a day, or just studying long hours in general, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be 14 hours a day, but studying long hours in a healthy and sustainable way. So one of the most important things you need to keep in mind to just kind of keep your sanity really is to take breaks. Now, there are 2 different types of breaks. There's your short breaks and your long breaks. So the shorter breaks, meaning every 25 minutes or every 30 minutes, you should be standing up from your desk and moving around. So not just sitting in the same place for too long, right? You need to give your brain a rest, your eyes a rest, your body a rest. And by doing this, you'll be able to stay focused for longer periods of time. There's no point studying for 14 hours a day if you're not actually focused and you're not retaining any information, right? And the Pomodoro technique is a great way of reinforcing regular breaks. It's basically where you set a timer called a Pomodoro on your phone for 25 minutes, and the app will lock your phone so you're less likely to get distracted. Then after 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, and basically you keep doing this. It's a really healthy way of studying long hours because the Pomodoro timer is always kind of reminding you to take regular breaks. And I go into way more detail on the Pomodoro technique and dozens of other incredibly powerful study methods and strategies in the Transform Your Grades in 30 Days course. It's still on sale, 50% off. It's my flagship course with hours and hours of content, a workbook, productivity planner, quizzes, a private community of other high-performance students, basically everything you need to transform your grades in one package. There's a link in the description below that will lead you to a website for more information on it. So the second type of break is the long break. So this is taking maybe a week off every now and then, or at least a few days off every so often. And this is something that I honestly struggle a bit with, but I'm actively trying to take more time off, like at least a few days every month, just to unwind and recalibrate. At the end of the day, your life is for living, so it's important not to get too obsessed with your work. Step 2, look after yourself. The main reason why I don't recommend studying for 14 hours a day every day in the long term is because it's just not sustainable. It's not healthy for you. So let's say you have 24 hours in a day and you have a healthy sleep schedule with 8 hours of sleep a night. So you have 16 hours left in the day. Then you spend, say, 2 hours showering, getting ready, eating, commuting, that kind of thing. Now you have 14 hours left and you spend that entire 14 hours studying, all of it. And then what? It doesn't leave much room for a balanced lifestyle, right? So you need to also focus on other areas of your life, like hanging out with friends, exercising, that kind of thing. So if you are studying crazy hours, then do keep that in mind. Eat healthily, exercise, sleep well. These are all the things that will help with your grades in the long term. It doesn't make sense, at least to me, it doesn't make sense to be putting so much work and so much effort into your education, into your studying, into your grades, but then neglect your health so that eventually you run out of steam and burn out, right? So maybe it's the most important step in this video to studying 14 hours a day. Look after yourself. Step 3, social learning. Social learning is basically where you study with someone else or study in small groups, usually with a friend or friends. It's a great way of breaking up a 14-hour study session where you're just sitting alone at your desk studying by yourself, because that can get quite monotonous after a while, right? So I was in that situation often where I'd be studying, 12 hours a day, but I was so tired that I would slip into this kind of passive studying mode where I'd be reading a book, for example, but I honestly wouldn't be processing any of the information and it just wouldn't be sinking in. And it's super important that you try to avoid passive studying at all costs because it's such a big waste of time. It's the complete opposite of studying smart. And I made an entire video on it. Study smart, not hard, passive versus active studying. You can click on the pop-up banner above to watch it. So by switching things up, by studying with other people, it can be a really effective strategy in terms of staying engaged with your studying. So you continue to process and retain what you're studying. So I used to study with friends quite often at university, and it was more fun, I guess, than studying all day, every day alone, right? And it just felt like I was taking a break from my studying and socializing a bit, but in a productive way, if that makes sense. So even though I was studying with my friends, it would feel like I was chilling out. And if I was struggling with a particular topic or subject, then I could ask one of my friends to explain it. And likewise, if they were struggling with something, then I could kind of teach them too. And that way I'd be taking advantage of the Feynman technique, where I'd be teaching someone else and I'd inadvertently be learning the material better myself because I'm teaching them. However, it's important that you don't get distracted and lose focus on your actual studying. Studying with a partner or in a small group of up to 4 people is usually most effective, so try to partner up with people who will inspire you to study. So people who are as motivated or even more motivated than you. Choose a study buddy that will hold you accountable and not distract you with what they were doing on the weekends, for example. Step 4. Socialize. Socializing at school at university is so incredibly important, but it's kind of this double-edged sword where a lot of people, they either socialize too much to the point that it's affecting their grades, or they socialize too little to the point where they kind of isolate themselves. It's important to relax, to kind of hang out with friends, socialize, do all the things that you should be doing at school or university. So by putting yourself out there and joining social clubs and societies and going to parties and going out to dinner with your friends, it allows you to kind of develop relationships with people from other cultures, from other countries, as well as hone in on the social skills that you're just not taught in your regular school or university curriculum. It will also help you build your self-confidence, and it's a great way to de-stress after a challenging exam. But overall, it will just make you happier, right? And you'll enjoy your studying and your education much more as a result. And it's incredibly important that you do find your studying interesting, especially if you're aiming to be studying 14 hours a day. Studying for those number of hours, if you don't find your studying interesting or at least engaging, can be a real struggle. And to help with that, I made a video a couple of months back on 13 ways you can make your studying more fun. You can click right here on the pop-up banner above to watch it. Step 5. Be mindful of hustle culture. So hustle culture is becoming more and more of an issue with students these days. There's increasing pressure to achieve exceptional grades. University placements at the top universities are just getting more and more competitive. So if you are studying these kind of crazy hours, then please make sure you're mindful of hustle culture and you don't fall into the trap that many students do. And the reason why hustle culture is so controversial is actually very, very simple. And it's more about priorities. And problems arise when you prioritize your work or your studying higher than your happiness and higher than your health. That's when hustle culture becomes a problem. So for example, if you've been studying for 10 hours a day, you're mentally and physically exhausted, right? Because you've only been getting 2 or 3 hours sleep a night, but you just keep going at the detriment of your mental and physical health. And that right there is the problem. So there are 2 main things that you need to keep in mind. Firstly, your mental and physical health should always be prioritized above everything. And I say this all the time on this channel. I think our health is something that as a society is often overlooked and we just don't give it the respect that it deserves. Whatever we want to achieve in life, whether it's to achieve huge success in whatever way you define the term success, or whether it's just be the best mother or father or the best son or the best daughter you possibly can be, having our health is fundamental in order to achieve anything in life. So that should be your first priority. And the second thing you need to keep in mind is your happiness. If you're working 12 hours a day, but you hate your job, you're living for the weekends and you're just not happy, then what's the point, right? A lot of people are trapped in this idea of hustle culture because working like crazy, but it's making them miserable. And in that case, I suggest finding work that you actually want to do, that you're passionate about, because it really is important that if you're spending 8, 9, 10 hours a day, every day doing it, then you're going to want to enjoy it. It just makes sense, right? So I guess from this video, I just want to communicate this idea that the vast majority of people don't need to be studying 14 hours a day every day long term. If you are finding yourself in that position, then it's very likely that you need to decrease the number of hours you're studying, but study smarter. And I've made multiple videos on that video to help you. One of them I uploaded recently called Study 50% Less, Memory Hacks That Work, and another video called Study Smart Not Hard, Passive versus Active Studying. You can click on the end cards on the screen. Both really important videos aim to help you reduce the number of hours you're studying, and whichever video you click, I'll see you over there.